Hello, I'm Brandon Paiva, a VA-accredited claims agent at CCK Law.
And I'm Brittany Howell, an attorney at CCK.
If you're researching a tricky claim or appeal, you're probably studying statutes, regulations, and case law. You might be surprised to know that your VA claim processor might not be. VA adjudicators are required to use what's called the M21-1 Adjudication Procedural Manual, otherwise known as the M21. This is a comprehensive procedural guide that provides detailed instructions, policies, and guidelines for processing VA claims. It interprets complex regulations and statuses so the claims processors don't have to.
Right, but there are a number of issues and controversies surrounding the M21. The M21 is considered sub-regulatory guidance, meaning it's internal policy rather than binding law. However, VA adjudicators are required to treat it as authoritative. In other words, they must base their decision on the M21. The problem with that is the M21 sometimes conflicts with federal statutes, regulations, or court precedents. For example, the M21 has a requirement that a veteran must have a 100% rating for at least one disability to be eligible for special monthly compensation, aid and attendance. Otherwise, a referral to the director is required. This restriction is actually not found in statutes or case law. You can qualify for special monthly compensation, aid and attendance with a combined rating or TDIU.
Another example is that M21 requires VA Form 21-8940 to be filed at some point in order to receive individual unemployability, which is otherwise known as TDIU. This is not actually a requirement outside of the M21. The M21 is also criticized for frequently being out of date. The provisions about PTSD, Gulf War illness, MST, Agent Orange, and even burn pit exposure are some recent examples of M21 content that frankly hasn't reflected the latest medical research or even the latest court decisions regarding these exposures. In cases like these, the veteran's only recourse may be to go to court, otherwise known as the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. But even many advocates do not have experience before this court, never mind enough knowledge about the M21 to dispute this before a judge.
And the M21 can be a real challenge to decipher because it's complex and it gets updated constantly. One outcome of this is inconsistency. We've seen policies and procedures applied differently across regional offices and even among adjudicators in the same office. This leads to conflicting claims outcomes like different disability ratings on identical claims. Again, the veteran can appeal in these situations, but the typical veteran and even most advocates aren't comparing cases across the country, so it's not always obvious to them when there has been an inconsistent interpretation of the M21.
Now, VA has attempted some improvements. VA now provides public access to M21 online with searchable sections and archives of updates, although navigation still poses its own challenges when it comes to accessing this online. VA does occasionally solicit input from VSOs and veterans advocacy groups for feedback on specific manual changes. VA has also enhanced their own internal training on the M21 in an attempt to essentially standardize adjudication practices, but implementation across regional offices still remains fairly inconsistent.
The M21 is one reason why experienced veteran law firms are still helpful to veterans. After doing tens of thousands of appeals, we know the M21 better than many of VA's own adjudicators. We can build evidence and arguments that align with the language of the M21 to help VA adjudicators make the correct decisions. We can also compare our cases from across the country to see where VA is being inconsistent. And we are highly experienced before the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, so we can take the VA to court when adjudicators' hands have been tied by the M21.
Okay, that's all the time we have for today. Let us know in the comments if you'd like to hear more about how to work with the M21. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for future updates. Take care.